Eric is a case of dark study in what happens when a child never hears the word no. He thinks he is a god, but the truth is way more pathetic. Hands down, his biggest enemy is not Kyle. It is the fact that he is deeply alone. While he is busy planning his next big scam, his mind is quietly breaking into pieces. We are diving into the files that show exactly how this 8-year-old boy became the world's youngest true crime subject. The truth is much darker than the cartoons ever show us. In the quiet mountain town of South Park, Colorado, where things are usually normal, one child stands out as a huge sign of human darkness. Eric Cartman is a boy who is always hungry for power. He does not care about how others feel. Most people think he is just a funny cartoon, but his story is actually a slow wearing down of the soul. This look into his mind uses facts and stories to find out why he is so mean. We want to know exactly what makes a child do such bad things to others. Born on July 1st, 1989, Eric was raised by his mom, Leanne Cartman. She never told him no. She gave in to every single thing he wanted. This kind of parenting made Eric think he was a god. Experts say he did not start out bad, but his mom's choices made him a monster. He learned that he could get away with anything if he screamed loud enough. Early on, he was just a brat. He would cry if he did not get the toy he wanted. But as he got older, his meanness grew into something much bigger. He started to see people as toys instead of humans. He weighs about 90 pounds, but he uses his size and his voice to scare everyone around him. He does not have a dad around, and that left a big hole in his life. He tried to fill that hole with stuff and power. He once spent over $5,000 on a theme park just so he could keep other people out. That's not just being a brat, that is wanting to control the whole world. His mom even bought him a huge cake for his birthday and let him eat the whole thing while his friends watched. This made him think that his needs were the only ones that mattered. He also started to show that he was very good at controlling others. He can make people believe almost anything. He once convinced his entire school that he was a teacher just to get what he wanted. He used simple words to trick people and it works every time. But as he got more power, his mind started to show cracks. He started to have moments where he was very scared of being alone. He has a stuffed animal named Clyde Frog that he talks to like a real person. This shows that he cannot make real friends. He has to pretend his toys are real because he has driven everyone else away. This is the start of his collapse. He is a boy who has everything but feels like he has nothing. He is always looking for the next big win, but each win makes him feel more empty inside. The data shows that he has tried to take over the town at least 20 times. Each time he fails, and his anger grows. This anger is like a fire that is slowly burning him from the inside out. But this spoiled life was hiding a dark secret that would soon change everything. The transition from a bratty, spoiled child to a genuine sociopath does not happen overnight. It is a slow erosion of empathy. A gradual darkening of the soul until the light is entirely extinguished. For Eric Cartman, that transformation was solidified in a single gruesome afternoon that would become a legend in the quiet mountain town of South Park. This was the moment the world realized that Eric wasn't just a loudmouth kid with a temper. He was a calculated monster. The most infamous chapter of his life began with a petty dispute over $10. A teenager named Scott Tenorman had tricked Eric, selling him pubic hair for $10. A humiliating prank that would have sent any other child running to their parents or crying to a teacher. But Eric Cartman did not cry. He plotted. He spent weeks orchestrating a complex, multi-layered revenge scheme that bypassed getting even and veered directly into the territory of the deranged. Through a series of cold manipulations, Eric ensured that Scott's parents were led to their deaths at the hands of a local farmer. But murder was not enough for Eric's appetite for vengeance. He took their remains and processed them into a bowl of chili, which he then fed to Scott at a public festival. As the horrific truth was revealed and Scott began to sob in agony, Eric did something that chilled the marrow of everyone watching. He leaned in and licked the tears directly off Scott's face, savoring the unfathomable sadness. This was the day that Eric Cartman ceased to be a normal kid. He had crossed a line that can never be uncrossed, proving that his ego was worth more than human life and that the cost of crossing him was total annihilation. From this point forward, the town's fear of him wasn't based on his tantrums, but on the knowledge that he possessed zero empathy and a terrifying capacity for long-term planning. If the Tenderman incident proved Eric's capacity for violence, his ongoing war with his classmate, Kyle Broflovsky, proves his capacity for ideological hatred. Eric's obsession with Kyle is the engine that drives his daily life. Because Kyle is Jewish, Eric weaponizes history's darkest moments to torment him, often donning the regalia of 20th century dictators to lead mobs against Kyle's community. This isn't just about simple prejudice, however, it is far more personal. Kyle represents the moral compass of their social circle, a constant reminder of the good that Eric has utterly rejected. Eric hates Kyle because Kyle is the only one who consistently sees through the lies. While others might be fooled by Eric's temporary charms or elaborate costumes, Kyle remains the voice of reason. To Eric, this makes Kyle an existential threat. Eric wants to be the sole voice of authority in South Park, and Kyle is the primary obstacle to that total control. He once attempted to sue Kyle for $10 million, not for the money, but for the pleasure of seeing Kyle's family ruined. Paradoxically, Eric needs Kyle. Without a good guy to fight, Eric has no way to measure his own power. This loop of hate has persisted for over 2 decades of their lives. It is a psychological stalemate where Eric's need to dominate Kyle's spirit has become his primary reason for existing. He is so busy watching Kyle's every move that he has forgotten how to build a life of his own, ensuring that his own growth is stunted by the very resentment he uses as fuel. Despite the tough guy persona and the acts of cruelty, Eric Cartman is a fundamentally broken and terrified individual. Beneath the layers of malice is a deep-seated fear of being ignored or forgotten. This desperation for attention has led him to fake numerous conditions and identities, often losing himself in the process. He once faked a severe neurological condition just to gain the freedom to say whatever he wanted without consequence. Yet, as the lie progressed, he began to lose control of his own outbursts, becoming a prisoner to his own deception. Perhaps most telling was the time he genuinely believed he was a ghost because his friends had decided to ignore him. Instead of realizing he was being pranked, his mind immediately jumped to the conclusion that he was dead. He spent days trying to perform good deeds to get into heaven, not because he cared about being good, but because he was terrified of the judgment he knew he deserved. His various personas, the robot Osimo, the superhero the Coon, the fake handicap, are all masks designed to hide a child who cries himself to sleep on holidays. He has had multiple mental breaks where he holds full-length conversations with stuffed animals or himself, creating a fantasy world where he is loved and respected. He is trapped in a cage of his own making, where his self-love is merely a thin veil over a bottomless pit of self-loathing. When the masks slip, we see a child who is desperately lonely, yet so poisonous that he destroys every hand that tries to help him. His fake smiles are failing, and the future for such a personality is darker than any comedy could portray. The ultimate tragedy of Eric Cartman is revealed in the twilight of his life. For all of his schemes, all his attempts to be a king, and all his efforts to ruin those around him, the world eventually moves on. In a glimpse into a possible future, we see the final result of his choices. While his former friends grow up to be successful, happy professionals with families, Eric ends up as a homeless, broken man. He wanders the streets alone, shouting at passers-by, a relic of a time when he thought he ruled the world. The irony is staggering. He spent his life trying to be the boss, only to end up with no one to lead. He tried to destroy Kyle's happiness, only to see Kyle thrive while he withered. He valued his own ego over human connection, and in the end, he was left with only that ego for company. Eric Cartman serves as a grim warning to everyone. He is a testament to the fact that cruelty might grant a person temporary power, but it builds a foundation of sand. Eventually, the world moves on without the bully, leaving them behind in the dust of their own making. He was the tiny monster of a small mountain town, a boy who thought he was a god, only to realize too late that he was just a man who had forgotten how to be human. He remains a memory of a time when a community was haunted by a child who lacked a soul. Proof that being mean and controlling only works for a little while before the silence of isolation sets in forever. Does Eric really deserve to end up alone? Or was he just a victim of his mom's bad choices? Think about that as you leave a comment below. Like and subscribe.